Minnie Scott, founder of Widow's World, and I'm so excited to have a very dear friend, Arlana Scola, with us today, and it's such a joy to have you here. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you.
It's wonderful. Today's Widows Talk is kind of focused on you and your experiences. I mean, my goodness, you're a speaker, an author, and anxious to hear about your new book. Author, speaker, a chaplain. Your experiences are just amazing. So again, welcome. We're so glad to have you here with us.
Well, thank you so much, Minnie. It's my pleasure to be here, and I'm so thankful for the amazing and beautiful work that you're doing with God's call on your life to touch people and to help change their lives. And so I'm just honored to be here. Thank you.
Well, I'm glad that you could make it. Your wonderful ministry is called Ruby Red Slippers and Soul Care. Well, you know, being from Kansas, ruby red slippers rings such memories for me. But share with us how you came up with that.
Yeah, well, I, as a young girl, watched The Wizard of Oz every year, and I had to fight for the TV because my brother didn't want to watch it. But it really, really touched my heart as a young person. The journey down the yellow brick road and all of the things that can occur as we're on our journey down the yellow brick road, and then having people come to help us along that journey. And so that's sort of how it became such a sweet spot for me. And then just to know that we already have everything we need inside already, and yet sometimes we don't realize it, or we need people to come alongside us and shine a light for us, show us, guide us, and direct us. And so I really like the analogy of just click your ruby red slippers together and all will be well.
And certainly both of us have done that.
Yes.
I will say that.
Numerous times.
In several of your presentations that I've been privileged to hear, you also talk about the renegade woman.
Yes, the renegade woman is another very special woman to me, and God put that on my heart, and it came about because my mom is a renegade woman, and she raised me, and her mom and sisters and all of that. But what the renegade woman is a woman that colors outside the lines, a woman that believes strongly in herself and that wants to help others and is willing to charge forward and to do sometimes the hard things that are necessary to empower herself and empower other women.
You know, and that is so important, and that's actually kind of a basis for what we're trying to do for widows in moving forward.
Yes.
Because that's what it takes. You, as a widow, also have to reach out because others aren't going to necessarily come to you, and especially in the beginning, if they were friends of your husband's, for instance, it gets awkward for them. They don't know exactly how to respond. So learning how to reach out and discover and move forward, that is so critical for us. And I think soul care is the other part of Ruby Red Slippers, your ministry.
Yes.
And that is absolutely essential. As you know, that we have three kind of pillars, if you will, in Widow's World, and that's inspirational, educational, and wellness. And you touch all of those with your soul care. So tell us a little bit about how you go about that, or how it's helped. How it's been nurtured.
Yeah, it's something that, again, all of these things go back to when I was a little girl. And then as I've grown and I've been through things, they have been fostered. But caring for the soul is one of the most vital things that we can do for ourselves. And it's just looking deep down into who you are and acknowledging that, but also taking the time to think, to ponder, to be still. Because as everybody knows, society is moving so fast and there's so many things happening that a lot of times we miss things because we don't slow down. And so the soul care coaching that I do and the classes that I have, they're all designed to help people find sort of the inner kernel of who they are, and then how to gently, slowly, and renegade womanly charge forward to make those things happen. But remembering that you have to take time and make time for soul care and soul prayer.
Yes, and that is so critical for widows especially, because one of the things that's key, well, it's a nationwide dilemma right now, and I think it's an outgrowth of COVID, where people feel so lonely. and isolated. And for widows, that could really be true, depending on their relationship with their husband and also their family. Families and friends become so critical to women and to widows. So I think, what you're saying is so true. You have to kind of start with yourself.
Yeah.
And who are you, and who are you supposed to become in the new process? In the new process, absolutely.
And I think too, as women, we're the caregivers, the nurturers. The home, making the home beautiful and kind and safe, and all of those things. But then when we have to really turn to nurture ourselves, sometimes we falter because we're so used to the outward part of caring for everybody else. And so that's part of the process too, and especially for widows. They are having a huge loss and they're distraught, and all of those emotions that come along with grief, loss, and bereavement. But it's turning in to say, okay, who am I now? What do I need? And who can help me? I don't need to do this alone. And the beauty of what you're doing is providing resources, support, love, care, encouragement. It's so important. And that, to me, is all part of soul care.
Absolutely. And you hit upon something. Community is vital. Not just to widows, but to everyone, but especially, I think, for widows.
Yeah.
And being comfortable, our goal is to offer a community where you're free to be who you are and not being judged or, restricted to this or that, but and nurture who you are and to encourage to try new things. And that's all part of moving forward.
Yeah.
It really is. But as a dear friend, a few weeks ago we were talking, and she said, it's called do it.
Yeah.
It's up to you.
Yeah.
You have to do it. You can't just sit there and disappear. And that's often what happens, is that the loneliness sets in, and then depression. And it's, that's part of why originally Widows Talk started, because there were a group of 4, and then it grew to 8, and we would sit around the table and talk and talk and talk. That's how widows talk.
Right.
But then we learned how to walk the talk, moving forward. And that's where I think your ministry is so key to, to widows and others too, but especially for widows.
And I think too, to add on to what you're saying, is to provide widows with a safe place to be vulnerable.
Absolutely.
Because they're already very vulnerable because of their loss, but knowing that they can come into a community that's safe and they can let sort of their emotions down, they can cry, laugh, whatever it is, but that's such a crucial part of what you do with Widows Talk, and it's a crucial part of who you are as a woman. I mean, you're very nurturing and loving and kind, and so I'm just so excited to see this and how it's going to help even more women. Just amazing.
It is, and the thing is, the outgrowth of this has been interesting the last few months as we've been doing these podcasts, is that it's touched other areas, the importance of family. And, they're hearing this about their mom or their grandmother or whatever, and they're thinking, wow, they're right. That nurturing is so important. It's a two-way street.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
And I just think that, it's such a blessing to be involved in it. But the key thing there was, I think, it is a place they can be safe and not judged. And they can, rant, rave, or laugh and cry. Whatever. It's okay.
Yeah. And that's so important.
It is. Yeah. It is. So, well, now, I love your book. I have to. I've read this and shared it with other people. It's called Sunsets and Soul Care. Now, share with our audience how this started, because it's so beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Yes. Well, again, started in my childhood. My dad was an engineer, and we had a dark room at home. So I learned a lot about photography as a very young person. Did a bunch with photography my whole life. So fast forward to adulthood, and I started taking pictures of sunsets when I started dating my husband, who has a house on the beach. And so that's how the sunset started. And then I'd always wanted to write a devotional. So there was the devotional piece and there was a sunset piece. And then one day I just thought, well, they're so beautiful. The pictures are so lovely.
Oh, they are.
And then I thought, well, I could put words to them. And so that's just how the process started. So it was divine intervention, as it were. And then I just started to piece it together. I started to pray about what words I should use and the inspiration, and then was able to find a publisher that would do it, because several people said, no, it's not cost effective. You can't do that. You can't do this. You can't do that.
Yeah,
and
that word
being the
can't.
renegade woman that I am, I said, I'm not going to give in. This is what's on my heart, and this is what I think is important. So it's just some of the sunsets are from our home. Some of them are from the beach where we
they're
are.
just so beautiful.
And I found people really have said this is so touching. It's really moving, and spending time with it is beautiful. And it's all designed to slow you down. Again, the soul care piece.
Right.
Observe something that's beautiful. Be still, and heal your soul.
Oh, and I can't tell you how many times I've read it, and I've shared it with friends.
Thank you.
But I love the word, you can't.
Yeah.
Well, that is a word that doesn't even exist in my vocabulary. All things are possible.
Yes.
And if you have a passion about something, there is a way that you can express that. And that you have done beautifully.
Oh, thank you.
You have in this book.
Thank
and
you.
I encourage all of you to, and they also have got to listen to your podcast. We want to know all about that too, and when you started that and why. And
yeah, well, it's been great. I'll say fun, because it has been very, very fun. And I've learned so much about amazing women, but it's called Renegade Women in Soul Care. And as I mentioned earlier, my mom, raised me a renegade, and all the women in our family, I mean, there's plenty of them, but it just fell into my heart. I was just like, oh, renegade women, I need to do a podcast. And I'd done a little bit of podcasting with my soul care stuff, and I thought, this will be really interesting. So I've had the great pleasure of interviewing amazing women, you being one of them. And we talk about how you can be a renegade woman, but still take time and make time to care for your soul. Right. And I've learned amazing things, and it's like my passion piece. I feel so strongly about it. And I've got lots of positive feedback from listeners saying, wow, this is so important, keep doing it. So
right. Isn't that, and it's just wonderful.
It
and
is.
Now I want to know a little bit about, unfortunately it's not actually
it's not
on the
printed
market
yet.
But tell us about your new book. Tell us the title.
Right, thank
and
you.
how you came up with that and all those good things.
The new book is called Unlock Your Voice, and it's a multi-author project. So there are many women in the book that are that have written a chapter, of which I am one. And my chapter is called Ruby Red Slippers, surprise, surprise.
Yeah, imagine that.
But it's about how God has moved in each woman's life, and how He has helped them, guided them, and directed them on their journey. And it's international. There's people from several different countries that are part of the book. So I'm super excited about that. It'll be out in digital format on May 25th is the launch date.
Wonderful, good.
And then the hard copy will follow, I think, in about 6 weeks after the digital copy. So I'm super excited about that. It's been a great collaboration. Too. Yeah.
Yes. It's so fun, because as we share, in each other's ministries, you just grow. And the latest thing, as you know, because you will be one of them, we came up with, I said something about, it's when you're collecting, you're talking with other people like yourself and whatever. And I said, you get such different viewpoints. And my son came up with, you're talking about perspectives. So we're going to be launching Perspective, of which you are one of the 4.
So excited.
So when our readers and our viewers express their feelings about this or that, because it's their perspective, and then we can respond along with Kathleen Dew, who has been on our podcast, and Pat Van Gorder.
Yes.
And so we're kind of the 4 pillars, if you will, of perspectives. But I'm very excited about it, because that's exactly what you've done with your new book.
Yeah,
And
thank you. I'm excited about the perspectives as well. I think it's going to be super powerful.
I do too. I do. So, well, I can't tell you how excited I am that you're here today.
Thank you.
And looking forward to all the things that we get into.
Right?
As renegade women.
Renegade women, changing the world one part at a time.
Yeah, that's exactly
So,
right.
yeah.
Well, again, thank you. Thank you so much for being
My
here
pleasure.
today.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today here on Widows Talk. But please follow us on our website, www.widowsworld, and our social media platform, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. Again, thank you for being here.